All right, guys, I'm very excited to create this resource for you. And this is something that my wife and I have implemented into our lives about 2 years ago, and we've gotten really consistent with it in the last 12 months. And we call it Values, Vision, and Vitals. It's a 15-minute meeting that we have one time per week. My wife is going to share a lot more of the why we have this meeting, the order of the meeting, the practical and the tactical of the meeting. But I want to speak to the spiritual father in the home right now. First off, I honor you because I think just the fact that you want this resource, that you want to be a better leader in your home, that you want to be a better husband and a better father, you want to be better in the marketplace, I honor that, right? And I think that's amazing. But one thing that I really need you to drill down hard, personally and also with your wife, is what are your core values? Because if you have this 20-minute meeting one time per week, and you're having this meeting because you really want to teach and you want to example and you want to create a way of thinking, because that's what legacy is. Legacy isn't an inheritance of wealth, it's an inheritance of health. And what I mean when I say health is a way of thinking. I could leave my two sons millions of dollars, but if I don't train the way that they think, if I don't train their disciplines, if I don't train their character and who they are, AKA I don't teach them to be a Weatherford, I don't teach them the Weatherford way, then what is this weekly meeting really all about? Just so you can see how everybody's feeling and you can kind of hear about how their week was in the last 7 days. I want this and I need this to be so much more for you. This is not just a checkup or a check-in. You're constantly sharing the vision that you have, just not for your family, but for their family's family. We have to create a vision that's big enough for our family to step inside of it. And so if you haven't created your core values, you got to create your core values. And so I'm just going to speak to you. My wife is going to speak to you as if you've already created your core values. And if you haven't, we've created some podcasts of how my wife and I have gotten together to not just agree on core values, but to take it all the way down to the details and attaching a Bible verse and a determinate discipline to every core value, and being able to peel back the real meaning and agreeing to that. And then once we have our core values and we have meaning to what it is to be a Weatherford, what is the Weatherford way? Well, the Weatherford way is we're a fearless and disciplined family that honors and grows always in all ways with a joyful spirit of excellence. And we have 6 core values: fearlessness, discipline, honor, growth, joy, and excellence. It's not just something cute that my wife got on Etsy and puts on the wall. It's something that we meet about, and it's something that for my wife and I, we know that the ultimate prize is that when our kids leave our home and choose life mates, that they're making their choices and their decisions based upon their core values, because if they live their core values, they'll live the life that God wants them to live. So, with that being said, I want legacy. And so this meeting that we're going to have with you to share the resources so you can have the meeting as well as so you can have legacy. I shared earlier that a legacy is a way of thinking, acting, and being. And I just shared kind of a brief overview, and I know I kind of shotgunned that at them, but if you don't have your core values, they're going to be spinning their tires on this meeting. And so I'll start with how I start the meeting, and then I'll kind of let you take over with the part of the meeting that you take over. So we start our meeting with prayer, and I choose one Bible verse, and usually a simple Bible verse that I know a good meaning and interpretation of that. And then I just ask the kids what does this verse mean to you? Can you memorize this verse? And then I pass the mic to my wife. Wife, talk to our friends about the order and why it's important.
Yeah, I think with prayer comes the purpose. So explaining to them, the prayer sets the context for that, right? Of like peace, movement within the room, to give our children the reminder of whose they are. Like, we're doing this for God. Like, step one. Yeah. Like, we want to create unity in our family for the vision and the values we have. We don't want to just create the values ourselves and then be like, do it. We want like unity. Right. We want them to understand what they mean.
We don't want to raise Weatherfords. We want to raise followers of Jesus that hold themselves to a higher standard.
Yes. So that's like step one, is really to just let them understand the order. Jesus is always first in our home, above anything else.
Good.
So that's step one. And then The core values are what we do second. We go around and we ask them what standard of core value have they done well and where can they be better.
Give us as an example. I've already shared our core values, so
Yes. So my daughter was like, I've been really disciplined because I've been able to set my alarm, get up and be ready for volleyball.
at 6:30 a.m.
Well, no, she has to be there at 6:30. So she's like up and ready by 6:15. So that showed discipline. And then she was like, but I probably haven't been really joyful, like while doing all
Right.
doing all of it. So that would just be one example. And they each go around and do that.
Share one core value that they feel like they've represented or done well this week,
Yes.
and then one core value that they can get better at.
Correct. Then we go through and we do the love tank to say, like, this is how loved I felt this week on a scale of 1 to 10. Then we do the joy meter, how joyful you've been with at school, at home,
And
with
maybe
each other.
and maybe for the families that are listening to this, can you share with me what's the difference between going around and maybe asking Ace, our 15-year-old, hey, how loved do you feel? And then we go around in another rotation, then I ask him, how much joy have you felt? Explain the difference.
So he said that his love tank this week was like at a 4. And it was really just because he didn't really get to spend much time with us because we had a lot of people in town. We were busy. So that made him
His
feel,
love tank was low.
his
so he
love
said
tank
he
was low.
A 4. Yeah.
But his joy tank was, or his joy meter was like an 8. Because he said, like, even though that, like, he didn't feel as loved as what he wanted, he had a lot of joy with life. And that's more of an inner feeling too.
And then what's one thing that we do? Let's say we go through all 6 of our kids, and here's the deal: Dad and Mom are not absolved from this. So I'm
Right.
also asking my
Yes.
wife, what's her love tank, and also what's her joy meter.
Yep.
And then I also get involved. What's one thing that we do if somebody says, "Hey, I'm a 5" or "I'm a 4"?
We pretty much, if they're under an 8, we'll kind of be like, what can we do to love you better so that you feel, and sometimes it's not us, like our 10-year-olds, like I would feel loved if my 5-year-old sister would stop coming and stealing my stuff from my room.
Honestly, that's kind of like
That was one
almost every week.
yeah. So that's, you can't tell someone exactly what it is, but we always ask them so that hopefully we can facilitate that in our home.
And then when a week goes by and Golden hasn't gone into Ra Ra's room and stolen her dolls or put nail polish on the wood floor, ruined her comforter, we ask her, Ra Ra, do you feel more loved this week that it's been a full week and Golden hasn't gone in your room one time?
Yes.
And
then
we celebrate that.
we celebrate it for Goldie. I mean, she moved on to
It's not
Carney's
just an-
room, but
it's not just an adjustment meeting, although fathers, I know we're really comfortable in that role, but this meeting is also about celebrating the small things and the small growth. And that's one thing that I wish I would have grasped more as a young man and a young athlete is I'm always so focused on the next thing and the next level, but I never really learned how to celebrate the gap in the game. So is there anything else that you want to share on the vital portion of the meeting?
no. And then we go into goals. And each kid sets a goal for themselves, and it might be Golden might be like, I'm not going to go into Ra Ra's room for one week.
And that would be the portion of the meeting where we go values, what it means to be a Weatherford, vitals, how do you feel? And then the portion you're talking about right now is vision.
Right.
Meaning like what's your goal in the next week or the next month? I just wanted to make that clear.
Oh, yes. So goals, and we typically try to have them have like a year-long goal and then more of a weekly goal. Something that's attainable within, like, and quantifiable. You always make sure it's something that's quantifiable, that's measured.
Yeah, you can't just say, well, I just want to be more disciplined. Okay, in these next 7 days,
Yes.
what would it look like to be more disciplined?
Correct. And then we go over our schedule. Typically, we do the schedule for the next week, but if there's something big happening, we'll
For
do this.
example, we've got Australia coming
Yeah,
up.
so
Talk about that.
We're going to Australia for 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. And so I've started kind of preparing them so that they're not like shell shocked, like, oh my gosh, now mom and pa are watching us and mom and dad aren't going to be home. So they're kind of prepared, and we have systems and processes in place for whoever's here to watch them, that everything's done the way that they're accustomed to.
We'll be FaceTiming with them every day, but I think it's important for us to cast the vision that, hey, we're not just gone in Australia. This is the city that we're going to be at. These are going to be the people that we're
Mm-hmm.
speaking into. These are going to be the church that I'll preach at on Sunday. And and I feel like for a lot of men, if you've got some travel upcoming that's going to take you away from your family, you've got like a little bit of anxiety about that. It's these are really great meetings to talk about. Daddy's not gone. Daddy's at this place, and so you're not really talking about your absence. You're talking about your presence in the place that you're at.
Yep.
Anything else that you want to add to that?
The last part that we do is just like an open forum. Like in the business world, they call it like the issues list. Pierce calls it our issues list. But it's, I mean, we have 6 kids, so there are disagreements, there are things that come up, and this is like a safe space. So creating a space where they feel comfortable being able to express that to each other or to us.
Mhm, mhm. Is there any other portions of this meeting that you feel like I have closing thoughts? But do you want to tie a bow on anything else that you want to mention? I feel pretty complete.
No, I feel complete. I think as long as everyone is clear on and have unity and understanding of the greater purpose, vision, and then the values.
And the ultimate goal of this meeting is that for the people that have your last name and the people that are closest to you, it's for them to become fruit producers because they're in your life. So if you're a mom and you're a dad and you're listening to this, it's your responsibility to create these core values. It's your responsibility to create standards for how your family should live. And when you get those things really clear, begin to live them out. Don't just have meetings about them, because my kids, they won't remember 90% of these meetings, right? But they're going to remember 100% of my behavior. They're going to remember 100% of how you and I interact. And just closing this, we just recently had one of our daughters. Um, you and I don't kiss that much on the lips in front of the kids. I mean, I hug you and we sit by each
Yeah.
other. But there were a few times where my wife and I recently kissed in front of my daughter, Josie. And what did she say?
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it when you do that.
And I asked her, I was like, you like it when I do that? And she's like, yeah, it's just so romantic. And so I say those to just remind everybody that's watching this right now. They're watching us, right? It's not about the words that we say and the meetings that we have. Those are reinforcers. But the way that we think and the way that we act and the way that we be ultimately is going to be the thing that they want to pursue and stay close to when they become adults, or it's going to be the thing that when they're living their life, they're saying, I don't want to do this because that's what my dad did. I don't want to do this because that's what my parents did. Let's be fruit producers. And this is the best way that I know to be a fruit producer, having a large family or having a large business or being somebody that's really driven. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're at. You've got to get your family. You've got to get your marriage. You've got to get your fruit in line every 7 days. Babe, is there anything else? If there's any other way that we can help you, send me a message on Instagram. I'm creating this resource right now because of the messages and the comments and the things that I'm reading on YouTube that would help push you guys forward. We don't have everything figured out. We've been married for almost 17 years. We've been through marriage counseling. I dang near called it quits like 5 years ago. We've been through it, but I believe it's because of that that I feel like we should be sharing with people, because 5 years ago we weren't in a great place. And it's implementing things like this and me finally starting to lead myself the way that's followable allowed you to submit, as it says in Scripture. So, men, if you want your wives to follow you, be followable, man. I hope this piece of content was helpful for you. And if we can help you in any way, send me a message and we'll see you soon.